Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
This coming Sunday, that is 30th May, will be the second anniversary of the Modi government or the second Modi government. Now, 2-year stop is a good point to make a mid-term appraisal of a government. Also, in India, we are not used to seeing so many second full-term governments. The last one, yes, was UPA, but even between UPA and 1 and 2, there was a difference. 1 had the left in it, 2 had the left as an adversary. So, let us not go there, let us focus on what we have. Now, when Narendra Modi got elected the second time with an even higher majority than he did the first time, remember that is precisely what happened to UPA. UPA 2 had better numbers than UPA 1. Now, then it was an expectation with Modi government, as it was with UPA 2, that now that the government is strengthened, now that the government believes that whatever it did in the previous term has got its rewards, people are supporting it, that popular support is still with it, it can now do bolder things. It can take more bold policy decisions, reformist, non-reformist, that depends on your outlook and my outlook. So, maybe if it was a more welfareist government, maybe they could do more welfareist things and deliver on their agenda more strongly. If it was a more reformist government, they could do more of that. That is a natural expectation from a government that gets re-elected, and that too by larger numbers, because if you got something right, you have been rewarded, you are then encouraged, you are strengthened, your cadres are strengthened, your government system is strengthened. So, you can deliver more based on your beliefs. Now, let us see what is it that the Modi government has tried. So, what are the instincts of the Modi government? In the first term, we thought that after that failed effort with the land acquisition bill, the government completely lost its way and went completely the povertarian mode, povertarian, welfareist, distributive mode. And they did that distribution effectively, efficiently, got re-elected. Second time when they came in, they took a lot of decisions which in my book would be reformist and which would be described as economic reforms in today's basic discourse. Now, what are these? These are agricultural reform acts, 3 of them, you are very familiar with them. We are still hearing echoes of protests. Second, the 4 labor codes. So, one set of labor codes, the wage code had come in a year earlier, and then 2020, the 3 other labor codes also came in. These 4 labor codes subsume so many other, a plethora of labor laws which have been amended, re-amended. So, that was also a major reform. The other reform on the economic side was just the reduction of interest rates, administered interest rates on small saving schemes with the government. Now, the difference there is you can put money in a bank, in a fixed deposit, you can buy bonds, you can buy government bonds, or you can invest in stock market. All of that carries some risk, not government bonds so much. Government bonds carry the risk in terms of as interest rates, as yields go up and down, the value of those bonds will go up and down. But these are small saving schemes that government has run for a very long time, for decades, where government has administered fixed interest rates and they pay you that much irrespective of what the market rates is. So, even when Government of India was able to raise its bonds, that is government bonds at say 5.8% or 6% interest, they would still be paying 7.5 or 8% of whatever it was on small savings. So, that was the other reform, to bring those interest rates in consonance or in harmony with market rates. These were all market oriented reforms. These were all risky reforms, because these reforms, each one hit or was at least seen to be hitting by one constituency, one powerful political constituency. One was the farmers, second was organized labor in organized jobs, regular jobs, or what we sometimes call as labor elites, because bulk of the labor in our country is not in the organized sector. Third is the middle class that carries out, that puts money in small savings. All 3 are large in numbers, all 3 are very vocal, all 3 are people in the same category as I would say people who get hit by the rise of onion prices just for 6 weeks in a year, and no government can afford to ignore that. So each one was a brave thing to do, and the fact is that we, and I personally editorially supported each one of these. Now see where each one of these stands, because you thought now a powerful government has come. The first thing they did was to roll back Article 370, or the special status of Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir under Article 370. They in fact even took the statehood away from Jammu and Kashmir. Hasn't been restored yet, although they said in the course of time that they will do it, but they haven't yet done it. So immediately the message was that this is a strong government, this will take decisive action irrespective of what pressures come from which constituency. Now what has happened to these major reforms? Agriculture Reform Acts were stayed by the Supreme Court of India in a sort of a strange judgment, because Supreme Court of India can take a view on the constitutionality of new laws. But in this case, Supreme Court of India sort of inveigled itself into the role of a mediator and suspended the laws for now, gave a stay, set up a committee of 4 and said this committee will meet and this will come up with recommendations to make these laws or these changes more convincing to farmers. They will also assuage farmers' feelings, etc. That's not really Supreme Court's job. But the interesting thing is that while the government lawyer contested this strongly, while the arguments were going on and said that there was a Sikh radical influence on farm protests, etc., and the Supreme Court also took notice or took cognizance of those statements. The Supreme Court purely, when they put a stay on these laws, there wasn't such a whimper of protest from the government. It almost looked like a fixed match, I'm sorry to say so, in the sense that government almost seemed grateful that the Supreme Court has put these laws in abeyance, and the expectation was that the agitators would listen to the Supreme Court, declare victory and go home. That didn't happen. So I will quote you a couple of lines from the Supreme Court judgment. It said that farmers must understand that this 4-member committee has been set up to create a congenial atmosphere and inculcate trust and confidence. And then the judges went on to say these stays are extraordinary, and farmers must understand these are extraordinary stays, and they should see it as an achievement of their peaceful protest, at least for the present. So this was also a nudge from the Supreme Court to say declare victory and go home. But they did not. You know, we know what happened after that. We know after that that of the 4-member committee set up by the Supreme Court, 1 member withdrew. He said that look, whatever the merits in these farm laws, there is no point talking about it, because now the mood is such that even if we recommend anything, nobody is going to believe it. We don't know in 5 months since then any meetings have taken place. This case has moved ahead. The government, the important thing for today's discussion is that Modi government seems quite content that these laws are now suspended. There seems to be no push, pressure, urgency to implement the laws. It's almost like the kind of response they had to the first setback over land acquisition, the new Land Acquisition Act under NDA 1. So that is the one thing that we see. In fact, even while negotiations with the farm protesters were going on, the government hinted, and that was reported by most of the media, a lot of the media including us, never denied, because I know that that was coming from the government, that government has offered to put these laws in suspension, the implementation of these new agricultural reform laws under suspension for 1.5 years. In fact, after that I wrote a national interest that Modi government has lost the battle for farm reforms, because 1.5 years means from that point that you will be just less than a year away, in fact just 6-7 months away, 8 months away from the next general election. So there was no way anybody was going to implement that before the next general election, in the run-up to the next general election. So effectively that battle has been lost, or maybe there's a retreat made to fight another day, but for that you will have to have a third term with a large majority. So that is one decisive reform or decisive political step which has lost its way. The second was labor reform. Once again something that we welcomed. In fact, I am sharing with you in today's description the cut the clutter episodes we've done for each one of these, farm reform as well as labor reform. Now, labor reform was put forward, and soon enough time came to implement it, because in January, in fact January 13, even the rules for the new labor reforms, the new labor codes had been framed and put out. And I'll share a story with you, a screenshot also. The labor secretary at that point had made a statement that these rules are now being made. By the end of the month, hopefully these will be notified, these will be implemented. This is now the end of May. There is nothing, there is no movement. In fact, the movement that took place has been backwards. It is something that maybe not many of us noticed, or that sort of passed us by in the commotion of the West Bengal election, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Kerala elections, because campaign was picking up then, and also because of the second wave beginning to rise around that time. But these new labor codes were to be notified on 1st of April. On 31st of March, a quiet message came, or a press release came, or a leak came from the government. I think it was a leak to begin with, and then a statement, maybe just a tweet, that these labor acts, labor codes are not being notified yet. One, because they said some rules had to be sorted out, some formalities had to be done, and then also it said that many states had not implemented their rules. That sounds like an excuse to me, because enough states are under the BJP's control, if anything. But that wasn't done, so the labor reforms are also stuck. And the third big reform on the economic side, since we are at this point only talking of economic reform areas, that is the interest rates. So, once again a decision was taken that from 1st of April, the small savings interest rates were going to come down. On 31st of March, somebody said, in fact the finance minister herself said, that this was a mistake, maybe it was a typing mistake, it wasn't going to happen, it would not happen. And immediately smart reporters, particularly from the print, found out that the largest percentage of small savers as a percentage of the population in a state come from West Bengal. So, that was a move directed at West Bengal elections. Now, West Bengal elections are done and dusted. There has been no talk as yet of restoring those small savings interest rate cuts. So, these major economic reform measures, some of the most important measures, are now in abeyance or in full retreat. So, that is something to look at as Modi government, second Modi government completes its second term. Now, there are other reforms which are sitting, which are not withdrawn. For example, privatization of at least 2 public sector banks this year, privatization of at least 1 public sector general insurance company this year, stock market listing of LIC this year. Now, will those move on with 2 months already gone in the financial year, or will they get pushed on to the next financial year? Next financial year then would mean going into the big election year, so it becomes more complicated. So, this is the year when you have what you may call as your power play overs. Either you score now, or you will be stuck chasing your own tail in the last year. So, once again that shows you some lack of momentum, but I will not say as yet that that is not going to happen. It is very possible that this will happen, and frankly it is also my wish that this happens, because if this does not happen now, then God knows when will it happen next, because this kind of consensus is very difficult to build in our political system. It is very easy to build a consensus on bad economic ideas, as I keep saying again and again, but it is very difficult to build a consensus on a good economic idea. There, if you have the majority, if you have the ability, but you also have to have the political skills, and you also have to have the ability to create local consensuses, to create a critical mass of support. That Modi government has not yet been able to do on these several factors, on these several issues, where, as I said, I am, or we at the print are in support of these ideas. Now, that is one. Now, there are some other ideas which are Modi government's ideas more on the socio-political side, with which we may not be in agreement with, with some we may be in strong disagreement with. See where is Modi government moving there after completing 2 years in its second term. So, Citizenship Amendment Act, which was supposed to be after Article 370, that was supposed to be the second Modi government's second flagship, right? Citizenship Amendment Act, which led to riots, protests, government put them down with a heavy hand. A lot of the people who were leading the protests have been in jail now under preventive detention, under draconian laws. In fact, today on the print, there is an article written by Umar Khalid from Tihar jail. It's quite a touching piece, whether you like the cause or not, you support the cause or not, but read that piece, it's very important. So those actions were taken, but where is CAA? The rules for implementing CAA have not yet been announced, and again government keeps taking postponements. Now understand CAA. CAA only applies to people who came in till December 31, 2014. It has nothing to do with people who will come in the future. So even that, if the government is not willing to do, that shows a loss of nerve. Frankly, if you ask me, I am happy that there is a loss of nerve in that area, unlike on economic reform decisions, because this is a divisive idea, because this idea can set many parts of the country into fire, particularly as even with this law, you have excluded the state of Assam. That makes it doubly more troublesome. See, also it's only now that we have begun to repair our relationship with Bangladesh, our most important neighbor, and it simply doesn't work. It doesn't convince anybody if you say they are Bangladeshi quote-unquote termites are eating up our land. Bangladesh's per capita income this year has not just inched ahead of India, it is now 18% ahead of India. It's way ahead of India and all social indicators also. So once again, I don't see how the government is going to go forward on making these CAA rules and implementing CAA as it had intended to implement, including in the state of Assam. Assam, in fact, a new delaying idea has been devised by going to the Supreme Court to asking for either corrections in the old NRC or a new NRC, which would take you to the next elections. Then there are other ideas. For example, national education policy, the new education policy, which was announced several months back, not rolled out. Single exam for all non-technical undergraduate courses, announced, not done, unlikely it will be done this year. Okay, you might say it's not being done because of the work from home situation and pandemic second wave, but the fact is it is not happening. There is no discussion on uniform civil code. There is no discussion on national population register. These are all socio-political ideas which are ideologically close to the heart of the BJP and RSS. Nothing of this is happening. Unlike, say, on economic reform changes, on these we are not in agreement. In fact, we are critical of all of these, and we think all of these are divisive or have divisive implications. But these are again very valuable to the BJP and RSS ideologically and politically. But even there, when you see the loss of nerve, then you can conclude that it's time maybe for Modi government to take a deep breath and see what has gone wrong and where. Because this is not the way usually you would expect a re-elected government, a government re-elected with a larger majority, not facing any opposition in the country, the second party in parliament being almost, not exactly, but almost 1/8 of your coalition. This is not the way a government of that power should be moving. So it's important for Modi government to reflect on what has gone wrong. It's important for its fans, its voters to reflect on what might have gone wrong. And it is also important for all the rest of us, the commentators, analysts, and for all of you as curious people also to figure out why this change has come. Important thing right now is to understand that there's been a loss of energy, direction, nerve, and a political will in many of these areas. At least that much we can conclude by looking at all this data, by decluttering all this data as the second Modi government completes its 2 years.